Hey class, so let's talk about our mouth shapes. Now, before we begin actually breaking down the shapes, I just want to talk about the design of the characters. So you'll notice first that I did keep this character very simple for this exercise, and there's nothing blocking her mouth. That's important, especially at this phase. Also, I chose a 3/4 pose, or a front pose would also work. Facing front would also work. But if you're doing a character to the side, these particular mouth shapes may not work so well for you. All right. Next thing to notice is that in general, when we're talking, our top teeth, because they're connected to our skull, do not move around very much. So let me just turn on my guides. And so as we're looking at all of these different poses, you'll see that the lower jaw moves down and moves around. However, the actual top teeth, because they're connected, they more or less stay put. If I had a little more time on this project, I would actually redo these mouths one more time, but drawing them with the pen tool and actually placing the exact same teeth in each of my drawings and lining them up perfectly so that those upper teeth just remain nice and consistent. So that's a really good practice if you have time. So let's go over the individual mouth shapes that we need in order to speak the English language. So the first one is this general kind of closed mouth. It's kind of just a relaxed, neutral expression. That's also good for the letters B, M, and P. So anytime you're trying to say M or P, you're going to strike this pose, generally the frame before the sound comes out, and then you're good to go. So that's B, M, P. Next is R or R. This is definitely a more exaggerated. You can see that the chin is dropping down a little bit to make room for the open mouth, and we've got a nice wide mouth. Generally, our facial expressions or our mouth expressions are going to be slightly exaggerated because we want to have a very clear, easily recognizable shape. All right, next shape is the F or V sound as well, so FF or V. So this is where you're biting on your bottom lip and trying to make that sound. All right, next is S. So S, and this could sometimes work for T as well. So this is a slightly clenched mouth. The teeth are starting to clench, and you're just trying to get those sounds out. So S. Next one is O. So O, and then the corresponding one, which is oo, which is slightly smaller. These are two kind of open mouth expressions, just O and oo. All right, next one. This is for TH, or part 2 of L. So that kind of sound is a great one when your tongue is pushing forward over the bottom teeth. Now, when I say the part 2 of L, let's take a look at part 1 of L. So L in general starts with your tongue at the back of your top teeth. If you have time, if it's a longer L, you can go from this position to the previous position to get both of those shapes in, but that's completely up to you. All right, so then this is L. Next one is Ah. So Ah has kind of a wide mouth, and I have a couple variations. So Ah can be this one, which is just kind of a general Ah, or the next position is an extra wide Ah or an E shape. So that's kind of an optional one. The next one is a smaller E or A. And you can also use this for H, which basically sounds like A. H. Finally, there's another ah alternate, which is more of a smiling general open mouth as well. Then we have more of a smiling BMP sound, but this one also is 3 frames long, so this can be used for a silent pause, which is really nice, like if you have a pause between words and you just want to have a nice pleasant smile. And then the last one is a smaller R alternative that I did. So, and then the last one is just my original chin, which I was cutting and pasting. All right, so those are the basic shapes. Let me just show you one more thing, which is the different mouth shape charts that I put into the folder. So these are all different kinds of mouth shapes that share the same fundamental structure and the fundamental shape for the different letters. They just have unique shapes given the character's mouth. So definitely use these for reference depending on the type of character that you have. These Adventure Time ones aren't labeled by the actual sound, but you can try and figure those ones out, or ask me and we can try and guess. And then we also have just the straight mouths, as well as all of the Steven Universe mouths. So check these out, and I hope they help. So for this part of the assignment, what you're going to be doing is cutting off your face and leaving it a little long, and then creating, and let me just hide this. And then creating a new layer with all of your mouth shapes, and then a second layer with your chins. So you're going to be placing these on top of your faces, and just make sure that there's a very similar overlap and attachment point, and make sure that the faces are kind of getting longer or shorter, or chins are getting longer and shorter, depending on the amount of opening that you're using for your mouth. All right, and then the very last thing is that you can have 2 sets of expressions, so like an angry mouth that works with, downturned corners and downturned, more of an angry expression, as well as a happy mouth if you need to. So if you would like to use this character in the future, you can create an angry version and a happy version. That's generally what they do in production, especially for primary characters. But secondary characters, it just kind of depends on their use. All right, so let's wrap this video, and then in the next video we'll be turning all of these pieces into symbols and organizing our model so that we can then animate. Thanks, class.